Hi everyone, and welcome to Adobe Max, and welcome to this Meet the Speakers session. My name is Chris Hansen, and I'll be your host for today. And with me today, joining from Melbourne, Australia, is content creator, entrepreneur, and best-selling author, Jess, what don't you do? Jessica Holsman, welcome.
Hi, Chris. Thanks for having me. What don't I do? I know I'm a multi-passionate entrepreneur. I love doing a lot of things and I love to be busy. But I'm really excited to be here chatting with you. I've actually got my Grateful mug with my lemongrass and ginger tea because I'm really happy to be part of Adobe Max, first time for me. And I'm really looking forward to addressing some questions.
Fantastic. So I'll just start. Obviously, we've kind of given you a bit of a mini intro, but for those of you who are not, for those of people who are not familiar with you, just maybe give them a bit of a background on what you do.
Yeah, sure. So I started my YouTube channel. It's called Study with Jess 7 years ago. And I'm also, in addition to creating content on YouTube, I'm also very active on other platforms like Instagram, a little bit on Facebook, and I've also got my blog and newsletter. And my focus is really around productivity and work-life balance. So all of my content is very much grounded in purpose and my passion for education and helping people. And I just love to create different sort of resources and innovate, be creative. So I've written my study skills book, got a copy here, The High School Survival Guide, little organic plug, shameless plugging.
Of course, why not, right? You can do that.
Yeah. And I've also worked on a couple of web series. If you check it out on my channel, Study with Jess, there's Mindful, a docu-series about mental health, something I'm very passionate about covering as well, and a scripted dramedy called Life of Jess, which is loosely based off of my high school experience. And I've also got my stationery line, Educationery, which is paper-based and digital study planners off my website, studywithjess.com. So I do a lot of things, but I just love to basically focus on content that's going to help people be more productive and also find that healthy balance of work and life and just overcome those feelings of overwhelm and stress and just be happy and live well.
Yeah, I love that. And immediately when I found out that I was interviewing you, I went to your YouTube channel and binged watched a bunch of videos. So I can say that you have helped me in some of my productivity areas. So I'm happy with that.
Well, thank you.
So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and we're going to just encourage everyone in the chat to send through your questions, and we can ask Jess some questions. And there's one that's come through already from Henry. Are you just as organized in real life as you are in your videos?
Yes. I'm a very organized person. I don't know, maybe it's just because I used to be, and at times I can be still a little bit of a stress head. I can get easily overwhelmed, and being really organized helps me to feel that sense of calm and more centered and just in control of my environment. Even my home office, it's like very minimal, very organized and tidy because I feel like my productivity is very closely tied to the state of my environment. So I like things to be organized. I kind of find it fun to organize. It's like my inner Monica character from Friends coming out. I would have to say I'd be a Monica if I was a character on Friends. But yeah, I think I actually am. Like I have diaries and planners galore, and I think it's really important to practice what you preach as well. So when I talk about tips that are going to help you be more productive, trust that it's because this is the sort of stuff that's really helped me. I think also running your own business and having multiple areas because you're wearing so many different hats, you have to be organized. So I'm not saying I haven't experienced burnout in the past and overwhelm or stress, but I think if anything, that's led me to learn different strategies or techniques to implement to really feel like I'm on top of my work and be more productive, and then be able to create more space in my day for myself and my well-being.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And I'm sure you've kind of iterated that process along the way, you know, what was working at one stage and then it kind of isn't, and then you found something else and you changed and shifted towards that. That's something that I can relate to as well. I kind of, after watching your videos, went through a productivity process where I tried to change a bunch of stuff, and I'm still doing it. So yeah, it's really fun. I've got a question for you. Have you had any mentors along your journey, and what advice did they give you to make you become a successful entrepreneur?
I haven't had mentors per se. There are people that I very much look up to and have inspired my career journey. A lot of them are successful business people, have a strong presence online, and are also authors. So I'm very much inspired by a lot of the books that I read. Some of my favorite authors, Marie Forleo, Gabrielle Bernstein, Cal Newport for productivity. He's brilliant. Greg McKeown, essentialism, productivity again, and setting priorities. But then I've also got my own life and business coach. He's a coach for digital creators, and he's helped me immensely over the last 2.5 years. And also, I've got my own psychologist who's helped me whenever I've experienced burnout or I'm feeling stressed and overwhelmed. So if anything, it's not one mentor in particular that has shown me the way, but I've got this inner circle of support that I can rely on at any point in my career and in my personal life that help get me through, that I can bounce ideas off of, and that can give me that guidance when I'm looking for it.
Yeah, awesome. So we got a bunch of questions coming in.
Okay.
Here's one from Tracy. How has the pandemic impacted your organisation/routines?
I'm going to break that into 2 parts perhaps. So organisation and then routines. As far as organisation goes, it has definitely encouraged me to deep clean more regularly, declutter, and take even more pride in my space, because I'm spending so much more time at home. Until very, very recently, my state's experienced very extended lockdowns over the last 1.5 years. And so, I would find myself on a Sunday afternoon, what else do you do in lockdown other than keep deep cleaning your closet and your pantry and your desk? I honestly don't know how many before and after clips I've posted on my Instagram account of my home office. It's just a constant updated transformational, project of mine. But then as far as my routines go, being completely transparent here, lockdown's been really hard. It definitely affects people's motivation and mental health. And we know that human connection is the number one factor when it comes to longevity. So when we don't have that connection that is so important for our mood, when we don't have the structure that we are used to having, it is hard to be self-disciplined all the time. And also, we're humans. It's normal to have your ups and downs. It's normal to sort of veer off path with your morning routine or your work routine. I was really, really committed to making sure that I would still, follow my morning routine, get up, shower, get dressed, not be one of those people that bought pajama bottoms and would just wear a nice top to a Zoom call and then your Ugg boots and your pajamas down below and no one could see. That's really important, that you're doing whatever you can to just feel that sense of normality. And it gives you also that control that you're otherwise really lacking in your life when there's so much that's out of our control. But there were times, even if they were not very long in duration, where might have slept in a bit longer and wasn't feeling particularly productive or motivated. But I think self-compassion just comes in, and it's just about, reassessing, going, all right, what supports do I need to bring in? What sort of feelings can I sit with? What sort of changes can I make? And let's just get through this as best as you can.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people can relate to that. I for one, remember when we first got into lockdown, I kind of treated it as if I was going into work. I would still do the same routine, dress up and whatever, and sit down at this desk and still talk to people via a video conference. So you kind of got to adapt to what is handed to you, I suppose. Okay, so we got a question from Megan. How different is editing video content for each social platform you're on?
For me, it's a very different experience. So until a year ago, I was filming and editing all of my content for YouTube. I still do my content for Instagram, but I have the pleasure of working with a brilliant videographer and editor to two fantastic guys. They're brothers, James and Jai from Purpose Productions, giving them a little plug there. And they just really help me create such beautiful, impactful content for YouTube. We film in bulk. We get together every couple of months and we smash out, 10 videos in a row. Work smart, not hard. But then when it comes to Instagram, I will set aside an afternoon and I'll create a little shoot list, almost like a photographer, and think about the sort of Instagram reels I want to create that afternoon. Might do a photo shoot with one of my girlfriends and we'll create lots of different photos that I can release over the next couple of weeks or months for Instagram. So it is a different experience for me now. And I really love the ability to delegate some of those tasks when it comes to creating digital content. But then, I'm still making my own thumbnails and Instagram graphics and things like that online too.
Yeah, awesome. On the filming in bulk bit, I'm curious to know, how do you actually plan out those types of videos? Like, what tools do you use from ideation to storyboarding?
They're a little bit basic, I'm not gonna lie. It used to just be pen and paper. I'd have an exercise book going old school and I'll write down different ideas as I go. I might just write them in my notes section of my phone as well and then flesh them out over time. At the moment, I have an Excel spreadsheet. So it's not really like a workflow, it's just a basic spreadsheet, and I've categorized them based off of videos that are focusing on productivity or advice, sit down and chat sort of content, routines, organizational, well-being, work-life balance. I'll write down any topics that come to mind at any time. And then usually I'll set aside 1 or 2 weeks every 2 months, and there'll be my script writing days. So that's when I put on the noise cancelling headphones, make countless cups of tea, and I start to think, okay, which videos do I really want to create in the next film session? Are they going to be relevant based off of the time of year they're going to get uploaded to my channel, and what really excites me at the moment? And then I'll go from there and I'll just flesh them out into dot points and make sure that I'm really comfortable before we get to the day where we film everything.
Yeah, cool, interesting. All right, a couple more questions that have come through. I like this one. What's your stationery guilty pleasure?
Oh,
that's from Claire, by the way.
Okay, nice, Claire. Stationery guilty pleasure. I mean, I could open the drawers of my desk right now and just have a little peek. I have a lot of notepads and planners, not necessarily for organizing. It's more just like really beautiful notepads and planners to write ideas down, to jot things down, journal, write down notes after a session with my life coach. So they're not necessarily structured planners, but I love pretty notepads. It just really inspires me. That, and then my yearly diary. I always get really excited around September to get a new diary for the following year. Like, you've got to get in August, September when they get released. You've got to get in by your diary ASAP before they sell out. And I just love having a really beautiful diary. That's, again, the organizational part of me just coming to life right now.
So you mentioned diary, right? We're living in a very digital age kind of thing. It seems as though you still like the physical pen to paper concept. Have you ever thought about moving all of that kind of note-taking process into a digital format?
I definitely have considered it. My one reservation is I want to try and be really deliberate when I do open up my laptop or get onto my phone. It's so easy to get distracted nowadays. I look at the comments that come through on my videos, and one of the most common forms of distraction that people are currently grappling with is trying to not always be on their phones or always be on their laptops and opening up unnecessary browsers and things like that. So one less reason to go onto your devices, I think, is really helpful. Thinking about how many times I also check my diary every day, it's multiple times. I'll still set reminders or alarms on my phone, so I get tech to work for me and I'm not working for it. But I really think that it helps me. I do love that tactile sense of opening up a beautiful diary and being able to space things out like that by hand. But also it's just avoiding unnecessary distractions wherever possible.
Yeah, because notifications can just roll in, right? They'll just, I'll just look at that for a second, Then you can go into a wormhole. It happens to me all the time. Here's one from, we got one from Sylvia on Behance. I was wondering, how was your process of designing your stationery, both in the visual design, but also the practical use for it?
So I might touch on the paper-based and the digital then just briefly. With both of them, I would just sit up late at night sketching out designs and the templates themselves, because if you've had a look at the stationery, and for anyone else that's tuning in at the moment, every product has a different sort of template. So we've got an essay planner, an exam summary book, a homework planner, each with their own function. And when it came to actually creating them for ready to print files for the paper-based stationery, or as downloadable PDFs that are editable, I worked with a beautiful graphic designer, one for the paper-based and then another one more recently for the digital versions that were released last year. And it just made it so easy. With the paper-based though, I did have to source a print broker and somewhere to actually get them manufactured. So that was a little tricky, but other than that, it was actually a very smooth process.
Yeah, awesome. I've got a really good question here from Jasper. Looking to quit my job eventually and start a YouTube channel. Should I start other accounts at the same time or just purely focus on YouTube?
Other accounts as in multiple... Oh, okay. So YouTube channel, Instagram, Facebook, a few different social media platforms. Yeah, I think it's really important to think about how the platforms are going to serve you and where your audience are perhaps consuming the content. So one book that I recently read was actually written by Cal Newport. It's called Deep Work. And he talks about the importance of being really mindful when selecting your tools, making sure that you're working smart, not hard. And you can do anything, but you can't do everything. And you want to make sure that you're avoiding things like creator burnout, which we know is really common at the moment because we're all plugged in all the time, creating and not taking a break. So think about what platforms your audience are likely to be found on, what platforms you'd enjoy creating content. Check out my previous presentation from Max yesterday, where I actually talked about this a little bit more in detail. But again, it's just being really mindful that you don't need to be on every platform because it's not a sustainable approach, but definitely find a couple that can then allow you to create content that's going to complement the rest of the videos or posts or written content that you're putting out there.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so I got a question for you. I noticed your background is quite minimalist. Okay, look, the whites and a pop of green in the corner. Is minimalism something that you adopt, or do you bring that into your everyday?
I'm not a minimalist. I just love to be highly organized and I don't like clutter. I think my mood and my overall productivity is really influenced by my environment. But I do really enjoy learning about minimalism. I definitely see there being value. I wouldn't say that I'm all the way on the scale of being a serious minimalist, but I'm definitely somewhere in the middle, maybe slightly closer towards minimalism than not minimalism. But also, learning about how our space can influence us and our overall success really interests me. So I've even spent time learning about feng shui and how to set up a room, or what should be in particular rooms, how to set up one's desk, the size of the desk, the position of the desk in the room for success. I just find all of that, how one's environment affects our mood and productivity, to be so interesting. But no, I'm not a minimalist. But thank you for saying that my room is nice and clean. No,
that's fine. I really like the pops of greens here and there, and it looks clean. I think I should do the same in my room here. Okay, so Felicia, she says, loved your session. I'm not very organized. Do you have any tips on where to start becoming more organized?
Oh, okay. I'm glad you loved my session, by the way. Thank you. Tips for where to start in being more organized. I think setting aside some time to just tackle one space in the home to declutter is a really good start. Remembering though that if you're going to invest in storage containers and tubs and all those lovely things that you can pick up from the stores, that they're there to store and not sort. So you've really got to declutter before you then try and organize things, because you want to make sure that everything has its own home and that it's all really intentional, and that you're keeping things that you use, not things that are just going to take up space. Another thing though is, if you're not thinking about organizing your environment in a physical sense, but more so organizing your life, that's where it's really important to have a diary or a planner, organizing your calendar, and something that I do to organize my time, because as we know, procrastination is a real thing, and time wasters like social media to an excess can also steer us away from focusing on our top goals that we're trying to achieve, is to use the time blocking approach. So in my diary, I actually allocate everything on my to-do list has a time, but all of my time in a day is allocated in some way. So I'm not actually leaving it up to chance, and I'm not just starting my day off on a whim. I know that from 9 till 10, I'm going to work out. From 10 till 10:30, I'm going to chill and make breakfast or walk the dog. And so everything has a place. And I think that that's a really great thing to think about as well when you're trying to organize your life. It's not just the physical environment, it's how you spend your time as well.
I'd love to see your diary and just see the chunks allocated to specific things. Oh, that would be amazing. Okay, we've got a couple minutes left. I've got a question for you. Which platform do you find the most engagement from your community?
Oh, that's a hard one. I'm really active on Instagram and YouTube. It's hard to compare, because on Instagram, I'm thinking about engagement as far as not only liking a video, but leaving a comment. Whereas on Instagram, it's, who is replying to my posts, whether they're commenting back, how they're engaging with stickers and polls on my stories, attending lives. I feel like it's about equal. Maybe there's slightly more engagement on Instagram now that I think about it. But there's also many more ways for my audience to engage with me on that platform compared to YouTube at the moment, and the way that I post my content on YouTube. I'm going to say Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Okay, so we're nearly at time, but I'm just going to take one more quick question. It's from Renee. Did you start out with professional recording equipment?
Yes, I did, because I had no idea what I was doing, actually. The first dozen videos on my YouTube channel way back 7 years ago, I did film them with a videographer, and so they provided all of the gear. I then would just go on to other creators. As I got the hang of it, I would go on to other creators' videos, and underneath they would usually link their gear, and that's then the sort of gear that I would go purchase. And that's also evolved over time, and I've sort of changed up the things that I use now. But I definitely did start with some pretty professional cameras and lighting, and then bought myself like a basic Canon G7X vlogging camera back in the day.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I started with some professional stuff, and then I sort of bought the easy to use, for beginners, high-tech sort of things.
Awesome. Hey, Jess, thank you so much for your time. It's been great chatting to you. I hope everyone has enjoyed it. We'll see you again soon, hopefully.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was great. It's been great to be part of Adobe Max this year.
Awesome. Thanks, Jess. Bye all.
Bye.